Hi, I'm Tamsin Woolley-Barker, and I'm a biomimic. When I was a kid, I was always interested in Jane Goodall and Dr. Dolittle, and I wanted to know, what kind of animal we are. So I became a field biologist. I was studying plant biology in Hawaii and in the redwoods of the Santa Cruz Mountains in California. And I was studying social biology with the legendary evolutionary biologist, Robert Trivers. I was a straight up evolutionary biologist. I even ended up working as a live aboard marine mammal observer in the Bering Sea in Alaska as the only woman on this crab boat with 25 fishermen, which was very interesting, but it also allowed me to get to the Amazon and the Galapagos Islands. So I was completely hooked, and I would do pretty much anything to get my fix. Ultimately, I got my doctorate in biological anthropology at NYU, and I was studying hybridizing baboons in Ethiopia. And that was the longest running and most extensive genetic study of any wild primate at that time, and a model for addressing questions about altruism and social evolution, cooperation, questions about our human ancestry. And so I'm probably still better known for that work in those circles. But I was also a writer and a philosopher and artist. And I didn't want to spend my life blow darting baboons or pipetting in a lab. So instead of going into academics, I started running my then husband's photo studio. So it was a comfortable 6-figure lifestyle business. We served and gardened and worked from home. I could write novels and paint, and it was great. But life happens, right? So one day, our 2-month-old daughter just didn't wake up, and it set a chain reaction into motion for our family. So 5 years later, I found myself a single mother. I had 3 boys. All of them were undiagnosed, on the spectrum. My ex was living in a van on the street, lost his marbles. And here I was holding the bag on a business with no photographer, no partner, grieving still hard. And it was in the middle of a recession. So all that potential, my knowledge and talent and passion seemed to have been for nothing. So I was really in a low spot, and I was racking my brain, what could I do with my one good life? I'd fallen off the academic track, but I figured I could still teach. So I got a teaching adult learners certificate, and genetics had moved on without me, but I still knew about science and I could write. So I took a science journalism class. And it seemed to me that wildlife conservation was related to sustainability, which seemed to be something you could just about get paid for. So I got a certificate in sustainable business practices. And I took a professional development class, and they actually offered me a position as a leadership coach. So I was helping scientists move into executive roles. And all of that was just ticky-tack. I was trying to do whatever I could to just try and connect the dots into a story that made sense for myself so that I could get back on the track. And then, one day I was driving along the road, and I hear this segment on public radio about biomimicry, innovation inspired by nature. And they had a little interview with Janine on there, and she was talking about the bullet train. And I just knew, I was like, stop the presses. This is for me. This is for me. So I just felt like, here's someplace I could be whole. I could be an artist. I could be a scientist. I could try to do something about the state of the world, and maybe even make a living doing something I loved, being outside and, still studying all the creatures that I loved. So what I did, I started a blog. I co-founded Biomimicry San Diego, Jacques Shirazi. Hi, Jacques. And I started a blog, Bio-Inspired Inc., which Inhabitat.com picked up. That's an online design magazine that at the time had 3 million viewers. So I was able to roll that into a Kickstarter campaign to fund a book. So even though I had no money, I was able to write this book in the cracks of the day. So, I'd like work while I was driving. I had my little iPad on my passenger seat, and I would write there at stoplights and when I was waiting for kids and the doctor's offices. But I did actually get that book done. So in 2017, I finally published Teaming, How Nature's Oldest Teams Adapt and Thrive, which is today, it's widely known as the defining work on organizational biomimicry. So today I'm providing bio-inspired innovation to Fortune 100 companies like Cisco, and I help entrepreneurs and leaders and agents of change discover the power of evolutionary design for, midwifing these life-friendly transformations. So I work with David Sloan Wilson at the Evolution Institute. His business action group is, we're leading the effort to design living systems curricula for business schools. And I also am a headline thought leader for the Growth Institute, which reaches mid-cap entrepreneurs. So I'm the dean of the School for Biocultural Leadership in Panama, which is the education wing of Geoversity. That's a 30-year nonprofit that works to support and empower and grow biocultural leadership for the protection and care of the land and the air and the water that all life depends on. It feels really good. It's equal parts art and science and community well-being. It's a fully integrated life, and I love my work. And biomimicry was a portal to that for me. And that's something usually denied to us in our silos. So I'm very grateful. It's the process itself of biomimicry that awakens people to what they already know. That the goal of life is to match your nature with nature. Right? Joseph Campbell said that imagination and observation, consideration of other species, other ways of doing things, and that critical thinking alive in us. So it really is a portal to living systems thinking. And that's, what we need in our world today to try to design better systems. It just makes such instant intuitive sense to people. It's just powerful for developing the capabilities that we need. And above all, what I really love about it is how inspiring and hopeful that it is. Well, we've all inherited that talent for creating those conditions conducive to life, because 4 billion years of our ancestors did it before us. We've lived in intimate exchange with the creatures around us for millions of years, and we're bound by the same accounting. Our lives obey the same forces. And we know that now with COVID, we are live hosts and carriers, and we're full-fledged participants in these living systems, like it or not. And we better start designing for that reality. Even at the highest levels, the decision makers are really blind and illiterate when it comes to living systems and the way that life and human nature actually work. All of our systems and processes really were imposed on our ancestors at some point. And so we really have to tune in to those patterns again and learn to see again, not what we think we see, but what is really before us. We have to rehumanize our minds and our way of life so we can grow the thriving places that feed us again. A watershed, or the palm of our hand, the patterns of diversification and trust in the world that drives life's complexity and collaboration. That living things surf on those patterns like water flowing down mountains. And we all know those patterns of rivers and roots and veins and arteries. And that's the way life works. Biomimicry is a way you can really ask questions that blow the doors off of things that we think we know. What if businesses ran on sunlight? Or what if manufacture was carbon negative? Or what if our waste was like fallen leaves, feeding the next generation of insects and fungus? These are all things that life does, and we can do it as well if we tune into those patterns. We just need to quiet our cleverness, like Dana Baumeister said, and try to think in watersheds and veins and arteries and tides and tracks and trails of our friends and relatives, until we can start to think in those watersheds and reawaken conscious evolution and create conditions conducive to life. So I want to say thank you, Janine, for your amazing book, and thank you to the biomimicry community for everything. It's just really beautiful thing. So very proud and excited to be in this community. 25 years, congratulations. And that persistence, that longevity is just evidence of the power that it brings to all of our lives. So thank you and take care.